Joining us now for an exclusive interview is Texas Republican Congressman Ron Paul, who, by the way, is not only a presidential hopeful, but finished a very close second in the recent Iowa straw poll. Congressman Paul, as always, sir, welcome back to the program. I want to get your take on what Governor Rick Perry said today, almost treacherous or treasonous, regarding Ben Bernanke. What's your thoughts, sir?
Well, those were pretty strong words, but you know the founders felt pretty strongly about counterfeiting. I wouldn't call it treasonous, but I would call what our Federal Reserve does morally equivalent to counterfeiting, because they create money out of thin air and they give us our problems. You know, in 1792, when they had the first Coinage Act, they thought so highly, thought so strongly about this issue, they invoked the death penalty for people who would counterfeit. So they never liked this idea of counterfeiting, and they did not believe we had the right to admit bills of credit. So I like this issue. To me, the fascinating thing is that, you know, the governor comes into the race, he gets a lot of attention, and on the first day out, I mean, they're asking him about the Federal Reserve. This hasn't been done maybe ever. So I would say monetary policy is front and center in this presidential race, which is probably where it ought to be. Now, you, sir, have always been a strong opponent of devaluation and money printing. Is Governor Rick Perry onto something here? Well, I think politically he's pretty astute. You know, he came out for secession, too, when he had a Tea Party candidate running against him. So, no, he's pretty good. But I have no idea what his monetary policies issues are, you know, what his real principles are. But I do know that, you know, that the fact that he came out and didn't say, hey, lay off the Fed's my friend, which means it's a turning on this whole issue of monetary policy. And you're right. I was motivated in the 1970s. Because the handwriting was written on the wall for me 40 years ago, and we just, you know, sort of celebrated that date 40 years ago when the Bretton Woods ended. So that was a signal to me that the dollar was doomed. And just look now, it used to be 1/35 of an ounce of gold. Now it's almost 1/1800th of an ounce of gold. So we have a very weak currency, and Larry, I agree with you wholeheartedly. You need strong currency. This whole idea that a weak currency is healthy for the economy. You need a strong currency, but you need to invite capital. If you're not going to allow the press to mess up the deal with capital and pretend they can get capital out of the printing press, you got to get our capital back home, which means you got to get rid of these taxes on capital. And then I think we could thrive again, but we're not on the verge of doing it. But I think we're going in the right direction, because we are talking about reducing capital gains taxes and capital and taxes on corporations. Texas has done better because we've never had an income tax on our corporations or for individuals. And I think that's very, very good.
And Congressman, let me just ask you, another one of your opponents in the presidential sweepstakes is Governor Mitt Romney. Now, I'm not taking sides here. I just want to note, when I interviewed Governor Romney back in April, I asked him specifically about Federal Reserve policies, about QE2, and I asked him about dollar depreciation. I played the clip earlier. I'm sorry you missed it. But Mr. Romney, Governor Romney, defended Ben Bernanke. What's your comment on that?
Well, that would tell you where he's coming from. That's a very establishment economic position, and therefore he wouldn't be arguing the case for hard money or sound money or a strong currency. But you know, that view may change. Who knows? I think the country is changing, and they're putting more emphasis on monetary policy, and eventually they're going to come around to believing a strong currency is the most important. But I don't know. I've never discussed it with Mr. Romney about his monetary policies.
All right, Congressman Ron Paul, we appreciate your time.